So now, a man who needs no introduction, we're going to give him one anyway. National On-3 recruiting analyst, the man, the myth, the legend, the go to spaces, knows everything recruiting inside and out. Welcome to the program, Josh Newberg. Josh, how we doing, my guy?
I'm excited to be here for the People's Show. Here to party.
Here to party. Glad to have you on, man. I think we talk a little bit about Deion.
Oh, really?
First, can you help me out here with the Heisman Trophy deal? I don't know why I'm blanking on here. Oh, it's Max Duggan. C.J. Stroud, Max Duggan, Caleb Williams, and Stetson Bennett. Okay, cool.
You got it.
Glad we got that locked in. Man, that's embarrassing. It's not a good look. Not a good look. Josh, let's talk about Deion Sanders here.
Yeah.
Because he's obviously, like he said, he's coming. He's bringing his luggage. That is Louis. Going to take care of a few positions. Let's just tee it up with this, man. Is Deion Sanders about to just body the portal?
I believe so. And I talked to a source at Colorado who's no longer there because the entire staff has now been let go. But on Sunday, about 12 hours into Deion Sanders' tenure at Colorado, he told me that his DMs were blown up like he'd never seen before. Over 200 recruits and transfer portal prospects had reached out, said, quote, "I've never seen anything like this in my time at Colorado." Now, of course, not all of these players are going to ultimately transfer to Colorado, right? Not all 200 of them. However, it's just interesting to see because the average coach gets hired. There's some buzz around him, but you don't have 200 recruits reaching out within the first 12 hours. So is Deion going to body the portal? The short answer is yes, JD, he is.
And his whole thing, right, is, hey, I'm not hard to find. Like recruits, if you're seeing this on social media or if you're watching, whatever's happening on Twitter, he keeps saying, like, hey, I'm not hard to find. Basically, like pretty openly saying we're going to overhaul our roster, if I'm reading between the lines here. And I think the first question on everybody's mind is who's he bringing with him, right? Like who is that Louis luggage that he is bringing with him to Boulder? And I just want to ask you this, Josh. We'll kind of get to the point. What's the likelihood in your mind that he brings the crown jewel of the Jackson State class this season to go everything Travis Hunter?
JD, I don't have a farm and I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I'd bet the farm on it, okay? Travis Hunter was live streaming Deion's introduction to the team saying, "Coach, I'm coming," as if he could hear him. He's screaming into the camera, "Coach, I'm coming." Travis Hunter committed to Deion Sanders. When he spurned his childhood favorite, Florida State, he made a decision that I'm following this coach. We both know he wasn't enthralled with Jackson, Mississippi, and Jackson State. He went there because of the man that was leading the program. Now that man has gone on to Colorado, and I fully expect Travis Hunter to follow him. Now, he's not in the portal yet, but once he is, I don't think there's going to be any question that he's going to follow Deion Sanders to Colorado.
And that was one of the things that I think I talked about a lot on signing day, right? Was, okay, this whole concept of people commit to people. Like, I understand kids commit to the schools, and there is a lot of loyalty there, especially when you grow up, rooting for a certain program or you have family there. Like, I understand that. But at the end of the day, like, it's a relational business. And so for Travis Hunter, I'm 100% with you. I would be shocked if he doesn't end up taking his talents to Boulder. But with that being said, he's a guy that now will get to kind of reconsider some options. Like Deion Sanders, I'm sure, will be calling him and texting him and saying, come with me to Boulder. But in your mind, is there anybody else that could be in play for Travis Hunter if we wanted to play devil's advocate a little bit here?
Florida State fans would love for me to mention that Florida State could be a contender if Travis Hunter does hit the open market. I mean, you could always remember the things that he said about FSU during his recruitment. He was committed to the program for nearly 2 years. But I don't want to even give that little sliver of hope to FSU fans that have already gone through it with Travis Hunter about a year ago at this time. So I think if you're an FSU fan, you continue to root for Deion, you continue to root for Travis Hunter, but I don't think that you expect them to be in Tallahassee. Now, are there any other programs that would reach out to a Travis Hunter? Absolutely. Remember, Georgia was a main player as well. Obviously, in the days of NIL, you could see a USC or Texas A&M try to make a play at him. But ultimately, like you said, this is about relationships, and this is about following up with what he started, and that was a journey with Deion Sanders.
And the whole conversation around what he could be at the professional level. Like if I'm Travis Hunter, to have my head coach be the GOAT of defensive back play and a guy who played both ways in the NFL himself, like it'd be very difficult to have a serious conversation with me to turn me away from a guy who's not just been a head coach, but it sounds like more of a mentor kind of role in Travis Hunter's life. So I'm with you. I think we're going to see him in Boulder here in the near future, but remains to be seen. We'll keep our eyes on like the portal wire, that is. The portal wire actually that's on3.com. Make sure you're locked in there. But the ticker that's always going on every other outlet, regardless, make sure you're locked in with on3.com to keep an eye on when Travis Hunter does enter the portal. We will have it for you. So, Josh, the other conversation now around the portal, NIL. And it's a reality for every program. And the thought is, okay, the schools that have people that care about football, whether it's boosters, whether it's fans, like those are the programs that will have their ducks in a row and be able to knock NIL out of the park. Colorado, not to say they don't care about NIL, but this is kind of a surprising development to get a big name like Deion Sanders to Colorado. And I mean, in some respects, right? Because there's a big push now, it seems like, in football, and there's a whole new uptick in intrigue around the program. So my question would be for you, how competitive do you see Colorado being with Deion in the NIL space, and how do they get that done?
Yeah, I asked about Colorado's NIL situation, and what I was told was they conducted a little experiment last year. The head coach wanted to see how valuable NIL was. So they decided, we're not going to pay anybody NIL. We're not going to get into this NIL business because we want to see how important it is. Well, the results came back, and everybody that they did not pay that was worth a damn left the program.
Yeah.
So it was safe to say
tough,
that NIL does matter. So that being said, I inquired about what was going to happen with Deion, because Deion is a businessman. He's not going to step into a situation where he's already handcuffed from the rest of the country. And I was told that shortly after Deion Sanders' introductory press conference, one of the big boosters stepped up with a, quote, starter of about $2 million to put into Colorado's NIL coffers as a starter. Now, of course, ultimately, if Deion is successful at Colorado, the money is going to have to come from big brands. And Deion has shown that with his mastering of social media and marketing, the big brands will come. I think that they needed a booster or two to step up and prime the pump. But now I think it's going to get rolling.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing that I'm interested in is like, when you get Deion Sanders to be the front man and the man running your entire operation as a football program, like there's a lot of other attention that's outside of Boulder, Colorado that you would imagine now is a little bit more interested in what they do on Saturday. So very curious to see how that whole thing develops, because it's relational, yes, but also these kids want to get what they're worth. And to some degree, you're saying, okay, more power to them. Everybody's getting paid. Might as well be the athletes now as well. And that's the reality now with NIL. What's the pitch if you're in the transfer portal to come play for Deion Sanders from Colorado? Like, outside of just being Deion Sanders, there's the thought on my end, at least, that this may take a little bit to, revamp. What he did at Jackson State was phenomenal. I think that's probably the blueprint that you lay for Colorado. But the reality is you still got USC who's competitive in there. Obviously, Utah won the conference again this year. Oregon, what's the pitch if you're in the portal to come to Colorado in your mind, Josh?
I think it's similar to every team out there that didn't win the national championship last year. It's playing time and the ability to come in and build something special. I think outside of the one team that wins the Natty every year, that is kind of the pitch. I mean, you're coming to a new program to make history, to be a part of something special. And meanwhile, if you really play well for us, you're going to get more exposure than anywhere else in the country, and you're going to make money.
It's a pretty good trade. I mean, that's a pretty good pitch. I'm all out eligibility, Josh, but that's a pretty good pitch to come and play for Deion Sanders, one of the best to ever do it in the league. And also the whole thing he's selling with development to get to the next level. And it sounds like really pitched that, I would imagine, hard to Travis Hunter when he got him to Jackson State was, you can make the league with me here at Jackson State. Now being at Colorado, being just calling a spade, another level up of FBS football, you can do that now at Colorado and prepare yourself for the draft. So I'm excited to see how it goes, Josh. It's going to be a little bit fascinating. What was your thoughts on the way that he entered the sphere in Boulder, Colorado?
Unique. When a new coach takes over, right, there's kind of one of two ways you can go. And most coaches try to address the locker room. They try to get everybody together, maybe get them a little bit closer as a team, as a unit. Or you can go in and do what Deion did, which is be brutally honest to them. And, at the end of the day, though, talking to somebody that had been around the program, he said Deion went in and said the right things, because if he doesn't purge that roster, they're not going to be a good football team. They got guys that have been there for a while, that have bad habits, that maybe haven't been working as hard as they should. And Deion let them know up front. Instead of waiting till spring practice, instead of waiting till fall camp to find out that you're buried on the depth chart, Deion Sanders told you in early December what it's going to be here. So, JD, to you, though, you've been in these locker rooms. You've seen coaches come and go. Maybe not head coaches, but assistant coaches. You've seen these coaches come in and address a team. How would you feel if you were sitting in that audience listening to Deion Sanders as a player on that team?
It definitely segments the team. And what I mean by that is the guys who are, to not put the right word to it, the guys who don't want to step up to the challenge or step up to the plate, that will, I think, cause them to jump in the portal or shrink back or get cold feet or feel unsure. There's a level of insecurity that probably creates throughout the program, but the difference is winners are, they gravitate towards winners is what I'm trying to say here. And Deion Sanders is a winner. And so essentially what he did by, making the statements he did and saying, that there's going to be some new guys coming in here. We're going to do things a different way. I came here to take over, not take part, like all that. I think that the guys that are supposed to stay in Boulder will be the ones that answer the call to action and see that as a challenge as opposed to a threat. Because the reality is losers will see that as, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. I don't fit in. It's going to be hard. The winners, the ones who will be a part of the winning programs that Deion Sanders is going to have at Colorado, will see that as an opportunity and be excited about that. It's kind of similar to the whole Bo Davis rant, if you remember that from, I guess, a season ago when, I think they lost to Iowa State, and Bo Davis comes on the bus and just used a little bit more expressive language than Deion Sanders did in that format, but basically said, if you don't want to be a part of this, get into the portal. Now, Deion was a little bit more eloquent and articulate with how he said it and a little bit more diplomatic in the way he phrased it, but I think the sentiment reigns the same. If you want to win, if you want to be a part of something special here, you're welcome to join me. We're going to do things differently. It's not going to be the way that y'all did it because the way that y'all did it didn't work. So you want to be a part of something that I'm going to do here? It's proven. It's going to work. If I'm Deion Sanders, that's my thought process. And I think it'll do the trick, I guess, to put it simply. You're definitely going to lose some guys. You're going to lose guys either way with a new coach. But I think it's going to work, and I think it's going to keep the right guys around. But definitely a way to come in, definitely a way to make an entrance. And if we know anything about Coach Prime, guy makes an entrance. Josh, I'll leave you with this. Appreciate you coming on. Folks, if you haven't yet, follow Josh on Twitter and subscribe to the channel. He has a show on here, The Inside Scoop. I strongly recommend you being locked in and following that for all the recruiting coverage that you're going to need as we turn this thing up in portal season. Question for you, though, Josh. How long do you anticipate it taking with the transfer portal and with Deion bringing all of his guys potentially to get Colorado to being competitive, to competing for the Pac-12 title?
2 years. I think, speaking generally, the Pac-12 is a weaker conference if you look at it. But if you look at it from Colorado's perspective, it's not a very weak conference. I mean, you got to face Utah, USC, Oregon, Arizona State. It's not a weak conference from their perspective. So it's not going to be a walk in the park in year one. It's probably going to be a little bit ugly, especially in that first quarter of the season. I think that we do see them become a competitive team by the end of the season. But I think to your point, I think it's year two. I think by year two that this team is dramatically different. The roster looks dramatically different. I think Deion gets all of this coaches in place. And from year two and beyond, this thing's rocking and rolling in Boulder, Colorado.
That would be special because then you would have USC likely continuing their trend. Utah, Coach Whittingham's built a program, not a program, a program over there. Washington's been rolling. I mean, that would make Pac-12 football. It's already been a more exciting brand than I think people give it credit for nationally. But to have Coach Prime and Colorado competing on a national stage, I'm all here for it, man. I'm all here for it. When they make it the destination for recruits at the high school level as well as the portal level, which they're in the process of doing, things going to be fun to watch. But Josh, appreciate you coming on, man. Appreciate you making some time. And we'll do this again real soon, man. What do you say?
Hey, I'm going nowhere. As long as Deion's in Boulder, Colorado, I am your go-to guy for all things Buffs recruiting.
Let's go. I'm locked in.
I'm coming.
I'm locked in. Hey,
I'm coming.
He's coming.
I'm coming. Roll party. I'm coming.
I love it, man. Josh, appreciate you, brother.
All right. See you, JD.
Again, the man, the myth, the legend, Josh Newberg. Follow him on Twitter if you haven't already. He has his own show on this channel. If you're not subscribed, we would love to have you at the party. Portal season is turning up the heat more and more. The portal's open for business. We got you covered here at On3. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.